Hello and welcome to the Clyde FC podcast, brought to you by A State of Mind. I am Paul Shanks and I am with you this Friday evening with my right-hand man, John Boyce. Boycey, how are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, Paul. I feel a bit like a third wheel here tonight with the fellow guest, but yeah, ready to go and talk about the busy week that we've had.
Yeah, absolutely. And yep, as you touched upon, a familiar face to myself, Lynn. I don't need to do your surname surely here, has gladly agreed to join us. We're a bit ahead of schedule on the live broadcast, but it's good to have you along. And I have to say that because I live with you. Now, before we get going, Boycey, I believe some congratulations are in order. You're taking your first step onto the property market.
Yeah, thanks very much. Had the good news this week that I've had a mortgage accepted, and not only that, it's right next to Shawfield, so Clyde related and all that. So
it's a win-win.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Now, no, you're welcome. Now, I'm not saying that we're clairvoyant here on the Clyde FC podcast, but Craig Black, a number of weeks ago, decided to put into motion a wee surprise for yourself. Now, you'll be well aware that I delivered this to your front door, socially distant, of course, earlier on today.
Yep.
Now, you can open this and take it as an early housewarming gift from Craig Black, and I'm going to stick my own name against it, so I don't need to buy you a present in future, and myself too. So please do open.
So I've genuinely not looked at this, so I'll just... oh my goodness, there he is. Oh, guys, that's lovely. Thank you. It's Rumsby.
Can you read out the message that's on it?
Can I?
I believe it should be signed in the middle.
Oh, it is. To John, lots of love, Scott Rumsby. Well,
we hope that's pride of place in the new Casa de Boys when you finally do move in.
Thanks very much, guys. That's lovely. I appreciate that.
As I said, we're just jumping on the back of it. It was all Craig Black's idea. I was just a facilitator.
Thanks, Craig. I'll message you later. Cheers for that.
Okay, so on to football and matters, and what a week it has been for Clyde Football Club. It's been hectic. It's been manic. Where do we start? Lynn, I'll come to yourself. What have you kind of thought the overall was it a positive week? Was it a bit... Are you happy enough with how it played out?
Yeah, I felt like with the fixtures we had, obviously with them being a fair run of away fixtures, that I would have taken, taking it 4 points, like if you'd offered them to me before they started, particularly going to Balmoor. Peterhead's record up there is not fantastic, only having won once there before. So I think getting 3 points there was fantastic, and obviously we'll get onto that later, but some fantastic goals there and the squad rotation galore. I think, they did us proud in terms of the matches that were, that came in quite quick succession, and it was a bit disappointing, obviously, Thursday night's result, but at the same time I can't grumble in the sense that it was still we didn't play particularly well, but it was still a tight fixture, and in the second half we could have maybe nicked something, but tiredness was going to kick in at one point, and they're all part-time players, so I can't, if they were full-time I'd maybe have something a bit more to say, but the lads are doing fantastically, kind of doing all that travel, and then particularly I think it's Nicol, Mitchell and O2 in particular playing 3 90-minute matches. The guys must just be absolutely knackered, so everybody's put in a fair shift. So yeah, I can't really grumble. As I said, I would have taken 4 points out of the 3 matches before if you'd offered me them, and given that we were 10th before they started and we're now 8th, again, that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to climb out of that wee mini league with Dumbarton and Forfar, so that's where we currently are, so I definitely can't grumble at that.
Yeah, you've stolen one of my lines from later on, but I'll let you away with it. Boycey, what about yourself?
Yeah, just before we dive into it, Craig's in the chat just saying, have a great show, guys, and if possible say happy 21st to Cameron. So absolutely. Happy 21st, Cameron.
Happy 21st, sir.
Yeah.
Happy 21st.
Yeah, on the week as a whole, we had talked about it last week. I think I would have taken the 4 points before a ball was kicked. 3 away games in the space of a week for part-time players. It's going to be difficult. We had the issues with the travelling as well. Boys getting back home at 3 o'clock. A few of them, live well outside the Broadwood. So yeah, definitely take the 4 points. A win, a loss, and a draw. There's nothing more we can say really. We're off bottom. It's looking positive. Obviously, the game last night, I think I was falling asleep during it, to be honest. It wasn't a cracker by any standards, but you can see the efforts are there. UNO2 in particular has impressed me. I think he's definitely that first choice left back for me. Other standouts, I thought Lewis Jameson played really well up at Montrose. And all of this without David Goodwillie for a few of the games as well, which I think is something that we need to look at, because he can't be there all the time as much as we would like it. So it's refreshing to see we're starting to get goals without him.
No, absolutely, John. And as I mentioned, Lynn kind of stole one of my lines. If you were looking at it from the start of the week, you probably maybe had a mini league, as we said, between ourselves, Dumbarton and Forfar. At the start of the week, we were bottom of this mini league. By the end of the week, we're sitting in 8th. We've still got at least one game in hand where we can obviously build, hopefully, a gap between ourselves and those now below-us, with obviously some fixtures looking ahead, looking at Forfar at home in the next week, which we'll touch upon a wee bit later in the show. Andy Gray making a really good point, and I think it's something that the players have voiced, not just ourselves, at Clyde, at various other part-time clubs, but can you imagine clubs in the top 2 leagues being told to play 3 games in a week, or as it turned out for Clyde, it was 3 games in 5 days. We've still got, obviously, cup duty to come tomorrow. The mileage that the boys have put in was astounding. I think Martin Brown last week commented that I think over the different fixtures it was 1,100 miles that we're going to be travelling, which when these guys are getting up, doing their day jobs, they're coming home, and then they're being asked to make this remarkable commitment. And the fact that we managed to get 4 points, if I'm perfectly honest, it's probably a wee bit more than what I was expecting in a return. So I'm personally delighted. So we'll take it in succession. So we'll first of all, we'll look back at Montrose last Saturday. A fixture that probably didn't, after the East Fife performance, fill us with a great deal of confidence. Montrose are a formidable team. Stuart Peachey's done a great job with them. Absolutely flying, aiming for playoffs again. We made 6 changes to the lineup that faced Keith, which I thought was quite surprising. I wasn't expecting rotation as early as that in the week that's just been. I'm not sure how you felt about the starting 11, Lynn.
Yeah, I think you see kind of a lot of changes like that. You kind of worry, that's quite a lot of change for the boys to kind of be, getting used to playing with kind of different players. They're not playing consistently with the same people, so having to kind of get used to who they're starting with week on week, or not week to week at the moment, but give from game to game every couple of days, that it might be a bit confusing for them in terms of getting used to playing with someone one night, but then a couple of nights later playing linking up with somebody else. So yeah, in terms of that, I was a bit nervy, but in terms of the recovery from the East Fife game, I thought it was night and day. Yeah, the result was obviously we drew, but there was a lot of positives to take from that game, in the sense that albeit we still conceded 2 goals, but we looked a lot better in defence. The midfield looked a lot tighter, and I thought even Nichol had a good game as well, but Lewis Jameson, I thought in particular, was a standout there. Did a lot of tireless chasing about, and that kind of freed up Goody a bit more to sort of to head forward, and to kind of for Jameson to then to kind of cross passes into him, etc. So in terms of that, they were the kind of bright spots from that game. And if it hadn't been for potentially Goody missing a golden opportunity at the end, if he'd maybe just passed it, we could have nicked all 3 points. And then, so yeah, a lot of positives to have taken from that game. And as you said, with Montrose being formidable, we were quite nervous beforehand, but actually coming away from it, we ended up being disappointed not to take all 3 points. So I take that every day of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. Boy, say what about you?
Yeah, don't really think I need to add much more to that when you've covered it. Yeah, I absolutely agree. You know, I think Montrose are a good outfit this year. They play some good football. They've got some key players that have hurt us in the past. I thought we played some nice stuff. The refreshing thing for me to see was the pressing that we were able to give them, a wee bit of energy. Whether we played Montrose later on in the week, if we would still get that, I don't know. But yeah, certainly it was there. The goals, Jameson's first goal, maybe a wee stroke of luck with that one, but we'll take it all day long. Paul, I know you enjoyed that goal very much.
I did, yeah. I mean, it's when you look back to the week before, the goal that sent us bottom in the match between Forfar and Dumbarton, I can look back at it and chuckle now, but at the time it was quite gut-wrenching. But when we score a quite similarly hilarious goal, it's one of those DVD blooper kind of goals where the goalkeeper's not going to want to see it again anytime soon. But by the same token, Lewis Jameson put him under the pressure to make that mistake. Yeah. It's easy enough that strikers sometimes just stand there 25 yards from goal and just let the keeper clear it up the park. So, yeah, Lynn, you touched upon it. Lewis Jameson was tireless. The whole game he was tireless. Something that continued on during the week as well when he away to Peterhead. But yeah, unfortunately we did concede after settling into the game quite well and defending well. The penalty, boys say no complaints from myself. I'm assuming you're very much in that camp too. It was a bit silly from Kev.
It's a stone waller, isn't it? He's all legs. Yeah, as soon as we saw it on the stream, when we could watch the stream, I thought, it was a clear penalty. There's no arguments from me. But listen, that's what you get with Kev. He's had an absolute blinder, as Martin's saying, against Peterhead. Marshalling that midfield and winning second balls. So yeah, it's just part of his game, I'm afraid. But he certainly made up for it later on in the week, I would say.
I thought he played very well against Montrose, though. I think that was just the one moment, albeit one moment he conceded a penalty kick. But I thought for the 90 minutes he did. He marshalled the midfield and gave the backline much needed protection against what is a fairly potent Montrose attack. We didn't, obviously, we've already touched upon the equalising goal. The second goal, Lynn, equally, the goalkeeper's probably not going to be too happy with his contribution to it. But
no, I can't imagine he'd want to see that one again. But take them. I'll take any goal that gets us in front in a match. Can obviously give us all a lift at that point, and despite us obviously thinking it was the goalkeeper's fault, you don't care at the end of the day if it kind of you're thinking at that point, right, well, now we just want to kind of try and either hold on to or build on a lead. So yeah, maybe not one that the keeper will want to see again, but definitely one that I wouldn't mind seeing again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're in a point just now where we're not really keeping an eye on performances and individual moments of brilliance. It's just about grinding out results and getting those points to hopefully do something positive, or at the very least stay up. That's got to be the aim. Neil Baza has mentioned that the Falkirk and Partick games will see where we are and if we're good enough to be in the promotion playoff race post-split. I think that's a very fair comment. We have played a good team in Montrose, and then we've played Peterhead and East Fife, who for me the East Fife result was a bit disappointing last night. I feel like we're evenly matched, or if a wee bit better than them. I know
given that they'd lost 3-0 to Montrose as well, so you thought, yeah, they're hopefully ripe for the picking, but then they made nine changes. We're probably still going to get onto that match, sorry, but yeah, you absolutely thought we were going to, it was going to be, well, it was a close match, but we thought we could have nicked something.
Absolutely, and yeah, it's just a big week playing Falkirk and the other teams, so yeah, I'm looking forward to the challenge, and hopefully the boys are as well, and hopefully they're well rested, of course.
Well, yeah, that's going to be a big issue. You need to be able to be away from a football pitch long enough to rest, which has not been a luxury afforded to the boys so far. on kind of any promotion playoffs at the moment, for me, let's just get clear of the wrong end of the table. And I think it's foolish to jump to that side of things just now. Let's just make sure that we're clear of the dirty end of the table. We don't want to be biting our nails or anything like that come post split fixtures, which I can't believe I'm saying in League One post split.
It's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah,
I know. I hope the first time I was going to ever say post split was when we made it to the top flight, but here we are. So the scoring wasn't done in the first half at Montrose. Webster got his own double with a volley. I'm not sure if it was deflected or not, but it certainly went through a ruck of players as the ball broke to him at the edge of the box. No real complaints. It was just one of those goals that happens. Slightly just disappointing because we had probably edged the first half. Even before we scored, Michael McGlinchey hit the post and Goody, I think, flashed one wide. So, Boyce, I'm not sure how you felt, but I was maybe of the opinion that maybe a goal advantage wouldn't have been unjust at half time for the Clyde.
I mean, it was a great first half. You know, there's goals to the other side. Whether a goal or two go in, you know, it's debatable. But I think the good thing for me is that we're making chances. You know, getting the balls into the right areas, and maybe it's shown that we're not as clinical as we should be in the final third. You know, but that's where that stroke of luck comes in. And as I've mentioned, it's all about grinding results at this stage. So yeah, just need to keep going.
It was also a bit of a concern, obviously, when we saw Tom Lang kind of going off nursing what we thought might have just been a bit of an innocuous head knock, but coming off, it looked like he had quite a lot of blood on his shirt. So, and then obviously seeing the kind of pictures from him post-match, it was quite a nasty looking gash he's got, and unfortunately, obviously, we're now without him for potentially up to 6 matches or so. It's a bit concerning as well. So yeah, hope he's recovering well.
Yeah, if you're watching, Tom, hope you're doing all right, bud.
Yeah, and those 6 matches are over the period of like 8 days, we should add. So it's not like Tom's going to be out for a massive amount of time. It's just obviously the condensed fixture list just means that he's missing a lot of football, which we really could be doing with him there. The actual clearance in which he got that particular injury, which was very, very nasty. Don't go looking it up if you're eating, guys. If you haven't seen it already, it was extremely brave of Tom. It was probably quite befitting of the way he can defend for us. I think it was 1 against 2 towards the back post and managed to get it away for the corner in the first minute injury time, or certainly close to the full-time whistle. And another day, do you feel that probably would have went against us, Lynn? Like, I don't know, just maybe in the past that match could easily have slipped away from us, but the boys just kind of stuck to it and at least saw out the point.
Yeah, I think probably more this season rather than seasons have passed. Like it has felt like, you know, when games have started to get away from us, if we've went behind, for example, this season or pre, you know, the kind of COVID break, you know, looked like our heads would go down and we'd maybe more just feel that we were down and out. And whereas kind of obviously promotion winning season, where we, you know, we never looked like we were out, even when, you know, we were 2-0 down with 10 minutes to go and we'd a fight to the final whistle. It kind of felt like more recently that had not been the case, but no, I agree. In the Montrose game, we definitely kept the fight right up to the very end, which was really pleasing to see as well, given you know, what we know the run of fixtures are going to be like. It still looked like the effort was going in, so I think that's all we can appreciate as fans, is when we can see the effort there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Robin Hockenhull, sorry if I butchered your surname, sir, makes a great point that we did play really well at Montrose, considering that it was a game that we were absolutely hammered 4-0 there last year in what was probably one of our worst performances of the season. So that was my concern going ahead of the match, but it turned out to be what was a very, very valuable point against a very handy Montrose side. Yeah. So we made a brief jaunt back down to the Central Belt, at least for 2 days this time, before we made our way up northeast, this time to Aberdeenshire, and yet another hunting ground that I think Lynn, you might mention it. We'd only won once in league duty there since Peterhead came into the league setup some time ago. The starting lineup, we had 2 changes, probably most notably. One, David Goodwillie not making the starting lineup. He did look at times a wee bit leggy against Montrose. I thought maybe after the hour mark, I was surprised that he wasn't pulled. Was still surprised not to see him in the starting lineup. Boise, did you have the fear at that point?
I mean, a player of the calibre of David Goodwillie, you always want him in your squad, but you also want the other boys to step up when he's not there. You know, we saw that typified when Ali Love came on for him in the playoff final. You know, stepped up and was that guy. So yeah, I think, you know, he leads the line fantastically for us at our level. But, you know, we've certainly got the talent up there with Ross Cunningham and Ali Love to, you know, certainly make a dent when he's not there. And obviously Ross showed that with his goal in the second half, which we'll get on to. But yeah, I think obviously all Clyde fans want David in the starting lineup, but if things happen, we really need a plan B, and it's good to see guys like I've mentioned, and, you know, Lewis Jameson as well, full of energy, ready to come in for him.
I think we were all surprised when that news broke as well about Goody, and although maybe some people picked up on the fact he was a bit leggy or had sort of limped off at the end of the Montrose game, it was still, you know, like it hadn't been mentioned in any of the pre-match. But then for me, that I'm not annoyed at that in the slightest, because why give our opponents time to adjust to that news and, you know, adjust to how they'll play their game. So I think it was hopefully a cunning ploy by Danny to kind of keep that to himself until, you know, breaking right, you know, the half hour or so before kick-off when the team lines are announced. So I think that's, you know, not giving them that lift beforehand certainly is a good tactical move in my book. So, but yeah, it did give me the fear seeing it at first, I'm not going to lie. But I think that it proved that, you know, we can be a winning side without him. Albeit I would still love him to be in the squad. But I think the boys all pulled together and pulled together a marvellous performance on Tuesday night, and it gave us all this massive lift, because I certainly wasn't expecting to go to Belmore and get 3 points. So to come away with that was just, and given the run of fixtures, was just absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, so as far as the starting lineup, we touched upon Goody being missing, unsurprisingly, due to the head injury that Tom received on Saturday before. He also missed out, so coming in place was John, your favourite person, Scott Rumsby, and Ross Cunningham replacing Goody. I tried to take notes in the first half, but let's just say I didn't use a lot of ink. It was not particularly pretty. The one positive I would say is, for all the ball that Peterhead saw, they'd done nothing with it. And I think only really once they got in behind us and Martin McNiff blocked in the line. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Lynn, but yeah, first half, one to forget.
Oh, absolutely. Finishing obviously 0-0 at half time. It just looked like, although Peterhead were kind of piling on all the pressure, they at the same time, albeit it was what I have to forget, and we weren't particularly great and it wasn't particularly pretty football, at the same time they didn't really penetrate us in any way. Like, so in that sense, albeit it was disappointing, it was still encouraging in the sense that, you know, we were going in half time 0-0 and we could come out and adjust in the second half and hopefully try and nick something, which ultimately obviously we did. So from that sense, I felt that was actually, even though there was an absolute big negative from that it wasn't pretty football, it was good in the sense that we hadn't conceded any goals in that first half, because Peterhead did look to try and pile on the pressure but just couldn't get through us in any way.
Yeah, I think it was one of those typical games where I'm going to use cliches here, but it was going to be a moment of magic or a horrible mistake that gave the goals, and I think that's what we saw in the second half. The first half for me, you know, it wasn't a classic by any means, but you've got the clean sheet, you've got the belief in the second half that you can go out and do something, and, you know, we're touching on one of the comments from Robert West on starting lineups. I think, you know, in this situation we've got to, you know, realise that we can't play our starting 11 that would be a regular start every Saturday, because we've got 3 games in a week. It's a big ask for part-time guys. So we've got to have that rotation. I think, the players that we're bringing off the bench, some of them will be regular starters normally. So we've got the guys to be called upon, and yeah, we had them coming on in the second half and making a real impact.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll move on to the second half and that moment of magic, Boise, that you touched upon, that the game really needed. I mean, it did come. I have to quote David Jack, wowee, what a goal it was. Came from a free kick in the halfway line, and Mark McNiff channeled his inner Beckenbauer and pinged an absolute worldie into the... It was a worldie of a pass, in my opinion.
It was.
Straight into the right-hand side of the box. And then, yeah, to say Craig Howie channeled his inner Van Basten is probably not over-egging the pudding here. It was just an absolute peach of a finish line, wasn't it?
Oh, it was absolutely sublime. I think we saw it obviously in real motion and angle. You saw it from, you thought that looked a really good goal, and then you seen when our cameras obviously over the other side, you seen it from a different angle, and it just looked even more sensational when you seen it after that. I don't think he could have hit a sweeter shot if he tried. Like it just caught it absolutely sweet on the volley, and yeah, it was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
had us all out of seats.
Yeah, we were watching it on the stream, obviously, and unfortunately I didn't have my updates on my phone muted, so I saw that Clyde had scored. Now, I don't think in my wildest dreams I could have imagined Craig Howie taking the ball in his chest and unleashing that absolute worldie into the top corner. So even though I knew he'd scored, I was still shocked. So it was great. But yeah, you ask your centre half to go up there, and wowee. Just what a finish. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, he was playing in midfield, which I think perhaps caught one or two of us out. I think he has played there earlier in the season away to Falkirk in the League Cup. Slightly surprising move, I thought, when I saw how he came on. I thought we'd be maybe changing the shape, going to a 3 at the back. But no, he went into the midfield, and I think the goal aside, he did well enough. He put himself about, used the ball well. The second goal, I think it was equally as beautiful, but for different reasons. Boyce, we'll come to yourself first. What did you make of the second goal?
Yeah, so I think the work rate from Ali to get the ball back and the assist was equally as beautiful as the goal, in my opinion. He's chased the ball down, brought it under control on a heavy pitch, and unleashed an absolute ping to Ross Cunningham. Now, looking back, I don't think the left-sided centre-half and the left-back would want to look at it again. Get caught under the ball a wee bit, but it takes nothing away from Ross's touch, and it's the perfect touch because it takes it away from the defender, and it also makes the goalkeeper come out and make a decision, and then he just has to skip past them and walk it into the net. So yeah, absolutely brilliant goal. Love to see it.
Yeah, Lynn, anything really to add on that? I mean, it was just a beautiful goal all in. Great pass from Ali, and the finish was equally sublime.
Yeah, I think we were, so it was only kind of 10 minutes after Howie's goal, and we were all still on a bit of adrenaline rush from that, and seeing Ali's sublime pass out to Ross out in the wing was just incredible. Like, had me in my feet before Ross had even taken a touch to kind of take it past the keeper, and it was just a phenomenal pass from Ali. Got to say, just kind of cut the left wingers right open. So yeah, in terms of his pass, maybe it's not as obviously as Howie-esque, but it was still an incredible pass to find Ross down that wing, and just what a finish from Ross in the end. And obviously even kept me on my feet and running about like a loony in my living room on a Tuesday night. I'm sure the neighbours were wondering what was going on, but it was fantastic.
She's not lying either. Martin makes a good point, obviously, with rotation. And this week and the week to come, it's a massive chance for guys to shine due to the need for rotation. Of the players that played in the first 2 games, we'll obviously come to East Fife. There's more negative on the East Fife performance, but these were 2 very, very, very important results. It was 4 points that did propel us, albeit up to 8th in the league, but still got us out of the danger zone. were there any particular standouts? I think we mentioned Kevin Nicol in particular had some really good performances. Was there anyone else? For myself, I thought Marky Monroe at right back really stepped up to the plate.
Yeah, I was going to say Marky Monroe's been really good for me. He's a big physical guy, solid. From memory, I don't think he's put a foot wrong. He's been really good, which is good competition for Jamie Bain. I'm sure we'll speak about Jamie's performance at East Fife. But yeah, Marky Monroe for me has done really well coming in. Ewan O'Toole, again, I think all Clyde fans will agree he looks a star in the making. Really composed on the ball. He's got a bit of speed about him as well, which is nice to see. Not seen much of Zach Butterworth, who comes with quite a high regard, so I'd like to see more of him in the weeks to come, and with the rotation I'm sure we will. But listen, it's a chance for these guys to, as Martin says, come in and shine and kind of make their impact on the team. And you know, I'm sure the boys in the dressing room will get them riled up for that. And you know, we've got a good team spirit in the dressing room, so I'm sure that they'll join in with that and hopefully have some positive outcomes.
I think it's fair to say as well, Jameson stood out again for me in the Peterhead match as well as he did in Montrose. He just did a power of work. Like he just didn't seem to tire, even though he'd obviously played on the 2 days prior. So in that sense, I think he's just, his work rate has been phenomenal, and he's been, him and Ewan, you've obviously touched upon Ewan already, Boise, but yeah, they two for me have been kind of real standouts in terms of the two performances in particular.
Yeah, so that kind of brings me on to one of Neo's comments, that there's still no sign of Lowland League players on loan since their seasons has ended, and it would help with rotations. Do you think we need any additions at this stage, or do you think we're set with the younger guys coming
in? Simply put, we can't loan any more players in. We're already at our maximum of 6, so even if there was, there's no space for them, and there is a signing deadline coming up shortly, I believe, on that as well. There were certainly players that did get loaned. East Fife in particular did have Nathan Austin on loan. Now, he was only there for 2 or 3 weeks and was recalled after it was confirmed. Obviously, Kelty Hearts were then announced as Lowland League champions and will now have the playoff against Brora to then see who faces, obviously, the bottom of League 2. So he couldn't stay with Kelty and had to be recalled so that he would still be eligible to play for them. So there are different, obviously, elements that even if we had loaned players from, say, Kelty or Brora, probably less so, but these guys might not have been able to stay with us beyond the 30th or 31st of March. So different elements, but I do get the frustration because there are obviously some decent players that have moved up into our league from the Lowland League at the same time. But at the moment, I think on the whole, the young guys that have come in have done a great job for us. And yeah, hopefully get to see maybe a wee bit more from Kane and Zach as well. Maybe looking at tomorrow, I'm expecting maybe them to get at least 60 minutes, if not more. But yeah, we'll come to the Ayr game. So yeah, as far as the rest of the Peterhead game went, it passed without incident, relatively speaking. So Lynn, Peterhead did come close, but were you in any kind of concern that we were going to drop points?
No, and to be honest, the only kind of moment I can recall really of any real chance that Peterhead had in that second half was when Derek Lyle looked as if he was going to grab Baggy's usual goal or so against Clyde, but thankfully hit the post. But that was the only point I remember even having kind of heart and mouth, but even then obviously we were 2-0 up at the time, but thankfully obviously it made it a bit more comfortable that we weren't then kind of trying to hang on to a lead in the last kind of, I think it was with 5-10 minutes to go. So yeah, in terms of that's the only kind of real point I remember Peterhead even really threatening in the second half. So I think it was a very comfortable win in the end.
Yeah, I might actually need to pull Alan Moore up, because I think when he was on the show in one of his many stories, did he not say that Derek Lyle had retired? Did he just come out of retirement because he seen Peterhead were due to play us and he thought, I'll get one more goal before I hang up the old boots? Like, I couldn't believe it when they brought him on.
The amount of goals he scored against us, but yeah. one of these things.
Yeah, he definitely did. I'm sure he did say that. Can maybe text him.
Douglas Lawson, the Peterhead was a brilliant game. Brilliant win, first and foremost, and a fantastic attitude. And that was probably the biggest thing for me over the two games, Montrose and Peterhead, was the attitude of the boys was first class. I mean, I think getting head back against Montrose, the heads could have went down. We could have looked at it and went, oh, here we go again. We've conceded 2. And in the past this season, when we concede 2, we have invariably conceded 3 or 4. But the boys stuck to it. And the Peterhead game, the attitude, it wasn't pretty on the eye, but give me another 5 or 6 of that to the end of the season and let us finish 5th, if not higher, and I would absolutely take it. Andrew Rennie, we'll touch upon the A United game. Hope we get a win. Now, that probably brings more issues down the line, but we'll probably come to that. We do, unfortunately, need to touch upon the East Fife game. We mentioned it earlier. I'll probably try and skip past this quickly. It was poor. We looked like a team that had been jumping about Scotland on team buses. I mean, by this point, I think the team had seen more rotations than an F1 car's wheel. It was just insane. There was another five or six changes to the starting lineup. It was disjointed, leggy, didn't really get going. Danny was, in particular, very, I dare say he was angry at full time, which I was quite surprised at. It's not often you hear Danny as agitated about a performance at full time, Boise.
Yeah, it was certainly out of character, but he works with these guys day in, day out, and I think we share some of his frustration really with some of the people that we would think are regular starters. Was talking about the youngsters coming in and looking to shine. I think 1 or 2 might be overtaken if those performances carry on. On the game itself, I just think it's really disappointing that we've conceded the same goal to East Fife that we conceded a week previous. That doesn't seem like lessons have been learned. It's a corner, another set piece that we've conceded. It's allowing a guy to jump up, head the ball back across, and then, like I'm always saying, second ball. You've got to win second balls, and there was no one to win it. And it's another header by Danny Denham. Key man, highlighted it last week. It's concerning. And coming off the high of the Peterhead game, is it the fact that we were going all about Scotland? I mean, totally appreciate that some of these guys are, as we said, getting back to their houses in the middle of the night. Maybe that's got something to do with it. Third game in a week, but we've got to be picking up our men in the box. It's as simple as that. I'm sure you guys echo what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, Boise. Yeah, I mean, it did have that kind of familiarity about the goal we conceded. It was early enough that the damage could have been undone. Truth be told, I think we came close once in the second half, maybe 5 minutes into the second half. Craig Howie flashed the header wide, narrowly wide, but their keeper didn't have a save of note to make, and that pretty much sums up the performance. We did try and inject a bit of energy into the team. Seems odd saying that when we brought in a 35-year-old Kevin Nicol in midfield, but it did help. It did help. He kind of steadied the flow, and there was some improvement in the second half, but that's perhaps clutching at straws. Lynn, would you agree?
Yeah, I just think it looked a really leggy performance, and in particular, I hate highlighting poor performances. I'd rather highlight good ones and kind of talk that up. But I think in particular, Bain has kind of struggled these kind of last 3 games. I'm not a massive fan. I'd like him to kind of prove me wrong, kind of in the game against maybe Ayr if he gets to play. But I just don't see see what he's brought so far, and I think it was a really poor performance from him. I think Lamont was a bit disappointing against East Fife as well. I thought we kind of bringing him on, he might have injected a bit of spark, but it just wasn't there either. And I feel bad saying that because obviously he's good guy, and I'm sure they all are. But yeah, it was a bit disappointing to kind of see that. And I don't know, maybe that's where Danny's frustrations came from, is that he maybe expected it from these guys who maybe haven't been putting in like full 90 minutes over these matches. And when he brings them on, he expects them to maybe have a bit more of an impact. And, well, more thinking obviously Mark there. That's just not happened. And yeah, as I say, I think I'd like to see a bit of improvement from Bain to kind of justify kind of keeping him in. And I'm sorry to say that, but yeah, I just don't. I like to see people putting effort in, and I just haven't really seen it.
Yeah, I think touching on Bain, I always thought he was really good at Airdrie, and at Forfar as well. I picked him up in my Football Manager games. Big fan of him, but yeah, he's certainly not hit those heights for me. Danny obviously sees something in him as well, and hopefully he can turn the performances. On his day, he can be really good at right back, and I think that's where Danny's frustrations come from. I think he knows the levels that these guys can hit. So yeah, hopefully see more of them. I mean, it's Paul, you're going to hate me for saying this, but it's unprecedented just now. It's really difficult for all the players, and different things may play a part in this. So I think as fans, we've just got to all get behind them, and everyone's got their opinions, but just got to support everyone through thick and thin. So
yeah,
it's just one of these things. Yeah.
And that's it. As I say, I hope Bain proves me wrong. It has a cracker a game against Ayr, for example, or any of our fixtures next week, and I'd be the first to congratulate him and for proving me wrong. So I get behind Matt, no matter who's playing.
Yeah, and I think it wasn't just one or two. It was pretty much put across the board on last night. I was about to say a few days ago. It was last night. It was put across the board. So. Yeah, I mean, Jamie had a poor game, but I would say equally so did most of the midfield. Mark in particular can bring so much more to the team. Mark, and if you look back at the Falkirk games, I mean, he can drive us forward and get goals as well, important goals. So you do expect more for these guys, and they probably expect more from themselves as well.
Yeah, exactly. We know they've got the potential.
Yeah, all positive going forward, all behind everyone.
Indeed.
Yeah. So looking ahead, it's a copy and paste number. It's another Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday affair this week. Looking ahead to tomorrow, it's Scottish Cup duty, and there's already quite a few comments coming in about it. Robin again saying big players must be rested tomorrow. Huge week ahead. I find it very difficult, Boise, to disagree with that logic. In my own opinion, this is obviously not the opinion of Clyde Football Club, far from it. This is my opinion. I can't see the Scottish Cup far enough at the moment, given the priority is staying in League One at bare minimum.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'd all love a cup run, but I think everyone's in agreement the league is by far and away the most important thing this year. We've got to stay in it. Nothing more to say really. Obviously, we want to go down to Ayr and do something, but hopefully that's maybe not a cuffing.
That's a bit the end of the hope, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to see some key players rested. I think a few comments have mentioned that. Just to get ready for the league, because we do have another few big games coming up. So, yeah, I don't mind if we go out the cup, but not by a few.
Yeah, I mean, if we can get through with resting players, absolutely fantastic. It would be great, but it does just put another fixture into this already manic calendar that we have over the next few weeks that we really could do without. I got a stat provided to me earlier by Graham Forrest, and I think this is quite telling for just the effort that the boys have had to put in this week. So when we take to the field and kick off against Ayr United on Saturday, it will be the shortest time between matches that the club will have played since 69, sorry. Can't even read properly. 1969. So that it will only be 41 hours and 15 minutes between kickoffs. The shortest time before that was when we played Celtic on New Year's Day in 1969, and then Partick Thistle the day after, so just 24 hours. So everything just goes against you all at once, doesn't it? It's not great.
Yeah, I think you get some shorter turnaround or longer turnaround times in like tournaments. It's crazy. But yeah, we've just got to, as I said, kind of rest players, key players in the cup, and go forward in the league, because that's our main aim. And obviously that's my opinion, but I would imagine Danny might be the same.
Yeah. I tend to agree, and to be honest, as much as I love the magic of the Scottish Cup, but it's also just not the same not being there either to experience that magic of the Scottish Cup. It's obviously the magic of the league too, but like I think in particular, just when you have that hope of a Scottish Cup tie and anything can happen, and we're not getting to kind of go experience that either, it just doesn't feel the same watching it on a stream and hoping that we get something. But yeah, for me, I absolutely agree. I'd rather just rest the kind of big guys, big team guys tomorrow. And if we get a result, great. It obviously puts cash in the bank as well. If we maybe obviously get through to the next round and then potentially draw a big team. But, for me, I'd much, much rather concentrate in the league. Absolutely, that's the priority.
Yeah, the bread and butter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the prize money, I think, goes up by about 20,000 or so. I think maybe you get 20 odd thousand for this round, and then it goes up to 40. I'm not exact on the figures. Martin Brown saying 1969. I was there. I don't believe that, Martin. You don't look a day over 30, sir. Moving back to the lineup for tomorrow, Lynn, you mentioned that you wouldn't be looking to play any of the big guns. Now, Danny has been obviously talking about Goody this week and this knock that he's been carrying, and has been talking about whether or not he would be available for Saturday. In your opinion, is it just keep him fresh for Cove?
Yeah, I would much rather, if there was still any doubt, or even if Goody felt like he was ready to play on Saturday, I'd still rather he was given rest time. Like, I would not want to risk any sort of niggle putting him in a Scottish Cup game versus keeping him for our next game against Cove. Is far too important. Like, he's far too important a player to kind of risk that sort of, risking further injury, because we do need as much players as possible, or as many players as possible, going into this congested run of fixtures. Like, absolutely everybody on board needed.
Yeah, looking at Cove's fixture as well against Rangers, a late kick-off on a Sunday, a couple of days before us. A fresh Goodwillie is definitely a good thing against maybe a tiring defence. So, yeah, yep. Key man, rest him.
Definitely.
Yeah, so looking ahead to the Cove match, Boyce, you've made a good point there, and it's something that I did note down. The Cove Rangers are playing Rangers on the Cup on Sunday evening at a 6:30 kick-off. Now, obviously, it's similar to what we are doing just now between Thursday and Friday matches, very little time between the fixtures. Can we hopefully use that to our advantage with the right level of rotation tomorrow?
Yeah, I think so. I think that Cove might be in the mindset that, a good Rangers team will want to progress in the Cup, and they certainly want to put out a good team against them. So I think, in my opinion, a lot of their starters will play. That's what they're in the game for, playing the big teams. I don't think they're going to rest many players. So that will certainly be to their advantage. Rotation wise, I'd like to see some guys that maybe weren't playing on Thursday back in. Maybe some guys that didn't play to their potential, come back in as well and have a good run out, and get some game time under their belt. But yeah, definitely want Goody back, and I'd love to see that Love Goodwillie, Ross Cunningham front three start again.
Yeah, so you wouldn't be inclined to go with Lewis if Goody is back, given that it was quite a decent partnership when they played against Montrose, or would you be looking to go with that front three of Ali, Goody and Ross?
So I think it's an important game, especially with Cove potentially being a wee bit jaded from that Rangers game. So I think Love, Goody and Cunningham is probably our best starting three to attack them. I also think that Jameson is a cracking player, and I think that coming off the bench, he can make a real impact. In the second half against an even more tired defence. So yeah, for me, I think his energy could be well utilised as a super sub.
Yeah, agreed. I
Yeah,
think
Lynn's.
well to sorry to interrupt there, for the Cove match, if Cove are a bit jaded, as Boyce said, do we put on say for example let Kane, Ritchie, Hostler come on and inject a bit of pace there and run them ragged, and get potentially Jameson running them their defenders ragged as well if they're a bit tired. So yeah, I'd rather, if it would be great if we could have Jameson starting on Saturday and doing a job, but at the same time I would much rather kind of keep him for trying to kind of tire out a Cove where the points are more needed than getting through in the next round of a Scottish Cup.
Yeah, and obviously we will need to reassess the state of play come 5 o'clock tomorrow, and whatever the starting lineup is against there, that we get through it without any casualties. The last thing we need is Mark McNiff or one of the central defenders taking a knock. I mean, we've got 3 options there until Tom comes back, and lose another one of them, and it's looking a bit thin. The big one next week, certainly in my opinion, it has to be on Thursday night. Forfar at home. Forfar potentially fit. I think they will still be bottom. I can't remember if they're playing on Tuesday. They probably are. Forgive my ignorance there, but this is potentially not make or break, but this could really kind of define where our season's going to go.
Yeah,
Lynn, what do you think?
Yep.
Sorry, Boyce.
On you go.
On you go.
All I was going to say is that for me, that one is an absolute must-win. It's almost like a 6-pointer. Say, if Forfar managed to get 3 points against us, it drags us right back in, depending on how results go against Cove, kind of midweek. So yeah, I absolutely think we need to kind of go all out almost against Forfar to try and get the 3 points. I think that's probably, and every cliche there, every match is important, but I think this one in particular, because it's this wee mini league as we talked about at the beginning, we absolutely have to win it and get ourselves away right from the brute of that table, drag ourselves safe, kind of fight tooth and nail to be away from it, to be honest. So yeah, I think that's the one we need to absolutely concentrate our efforts on as well. Obviously we should concentrate our efforts on Cove as well, but if there's one to kind of keep a half eye on, it's definitely that fixture.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, every game's key just now. We've just got to keep grinding out results in the difficult time, and hopefully Tom Lang can be back. I mean, he's been active on Twitter. He seems all right. Obviously, an injury like that does take a few weeks to come back, and you've got the risk of Tom loves a header, so we certainly don't want that nasty cut opening back up again. So definitely needs to come back, obviously, when he's ready. I don't know if we've heard any time scale of when he's back, Paul.
I believe 8 to 10 days was the original kind of. I don't know if that was just a basic. Yeah, that's how long this would take. Hopefully, Tom's healing powers are greater than that, but at the same time, you don't want to rush him back. Andrew Rennie is asking, obviously, how Tom is doing. We'll try and find out, and we'll put out a wee tweet. There may even be some team news ahead of tomorrow, and they might give an update on Tom's position. So, yeah, Lynn, you mentioned 6-pointer. We win against Forfar, it could be real daylight, wee bit of breathing space. Lose, and it's the Alex Ferguson line of it's squeaky bum time. Yep,
I totally agree. I would not enjoy being in that position at all if we lose to Forfar. I think that would, not to be negative here, Boise, but yeah, that would give me some real fear if we couldn't win against Forfar. That would kind of make me think we were in real trouble.
Well, let me inject some positivity to this. I think we've got a lot more about us than Forfar. I really do. I think when we play them, we should be winning. Fingers crossed, no more casualties or suspensions. Kevin Nicol. But no, I think yeah, it's definitely a big game, and I definitely think we've got enough about us to get all 3 points there. In my mind, there's no doubt there.
I can't believe I'm about to say this, but Forfar are a team that have struggled to score. I, I can't believe I've literally just said that live, because you know it's going to bite me in the backside. But hopefully not. Hopefully not. They are a team. Their flaws are quite obvious at the top end of the field. I don't think many teams in Scotland have scored fewer than them this season to date. Long may that continue for our own benefit. Apologies if there's any Forfar fans even watching. I make no apologies for it. We are obviously looking after Clyde, number one. So simply put, guys, it really is a massive week again. Another mammoth effort from the boys. Boise, what are you going to set a points target from the 2 league games, or will you just take it as it comes? And
I think I'm going to bring my inner manager out here and just say I think we need to take it game by game. I've been saying it all week. I think it's all about grinding results. It's all about working hard and trying to get what we can. And for me, that comes game by game. It's each team has their own kind of strengths and weaknesses. I think we need to work with the rotation and figure out the best way to combat them. Like against Montrose, for example, I think their fullbacks were their strength, and we seemed to set up on the counter pretty well, and go in behind their wing backs, and that seemed to work for us. So I think it's on a game by game basis on who we're playing, because if I was to set a points target, I'd probably be looking at something similar again. Obviously, I would love to get a win every game, but I think if we can get a wee win in there and maybe a draw, maybe a loss, that would be good enough for me. But I think game by game the boys will be looking at it that way.
So yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with anything that you just said there, John. The big one for me is just don't lose to Forfar. Preferably, I think you win that. The Cove is going to be a tough one. Cove seem to have kind of really kicked on since the restart. Mitch Megison found his shooting boots as well. It's going to be a tough one, but at the same time, it was a tough one when we went up there, and we did come back with a very dramatic 3-2 victory. So you never know. On our day, we are a match for anyone in this league. We're proving
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah.
We just need to make sure that the application's there, and when it is there, we are a really decent team. It's just been frustrating that we've just not seen it on that consistent basis. So anything else ahead of next week, guys, that you want to cover, or are we going to inject a wee bit of positivity? Come on, boys, let's get the guys up for it.
So I guess something that we'll need to mention is the PPVs for the games. So
yep.
we'll be retweeting them on the website, the Twitter. So obviously get over there and have a look at joining up to the different streams and getting right behind the boys virtually. We are seemingly in a relegation dogfight, but listen, a couple of good results and we're climbing up that table more than I think people realise. We've got our games in hand. The boys are a close-knit bunch and going all in for this. So I think there's some positive results coming. I do think we'll beat Forfar, and I think many people didn't think we were going to take something from Peterhead, and we went up and had an absolute battling performance. So I think there's still a few surprises to come for us. So I'll definitely be getting right behind the boys on Saturday, and definitely keeping a key eye on Cove, because I think we could get something there.
Good man, that's what we wanted. On the pay-per-view, just for prices, it's £12 for non-season ticket holders. All the details, as Boyce said, we'll tweet out the information for that, and it will of course be on the Clyde website. And for season ticket holders, or season card holders I should say, it will be £10, and that automatically deducts from your season card, just as always. So Neil, we don't have bits and pieces, unfortunately, to get the guys fired up. But if any of you do want a wee bit of bits and pieces and some chat with some Clyde fans, our good pal and now say favourite non-Scotland-based Clyde supporters. Probably unfair to all the expats if you're watching. Our newest Clyde fan, Scoops Callan, yes, who was on the show a couple of weeks ago. He will be live again at 10 p.m. tonight. So if you can stay up that late, get yourself a nice wee refreshment and come and join the guys for good laugh and some tunes as well at the same time.
There's Robin saying he thinks we'll be safe. So there's positivity there, guys. Let's keep.
That's what we want. What we want.
And to get everyone in the mood for the weekend, the football and beyond, we're going to retweet one of Scoops's fantastic edits, and it'll honestly bring a tear to your eye. It's amazing. So we'll get that up as well. But keep the faith, and we'll do something.
Absolutely. Like, see as well, momentum-wise, I think I've touched on it before when we were interviewing Danny Paul. Like, it's not great having all these congested fixtures like this, but equally, if you can string results together, you get the momentum, and that momentum then comes around really quickly because you're playing again, a couple of days later. And if you can get another result, it just, even though you're knackered, it might just kind of pump that adrenaline because you're picking up the points. So, and I've got faith in the boys. I think we can do it, especially against the one against Forfar. I think we can have. And as I say, the Cove Rangers one, we've done it before, and it was away, and that was a tough away trip too. So I've got every faith in the boys that we can do it.
Plus, you've actually got home matches.
I know.
Yeah, which is a rarity. It is a rarity. And just one last comment, which I think is a perfect note to end on. Douglas Lawson, I believe in the guys.
Absolutely.
Me and you both, mate. And that's what we're going to have to do for the next few weeks. Get behind them virtually, and I'm sure the boys will deliver the points required. So we'll wrap it up there. Everyone, thank you all for your many, many comments and getting involved. Greatly appreciated. For those of you watching on YouTube, please do subscribe to A State of Mind for your daily free content. It's getting bigger and bigger by the day. Lots of different pods and shows there. Fantastic content. And of course, us guys too. You get check us out at least once a week as well. So please do subscribe. Until next week, we will be back and covering another 3 rounds of matches, and God knows how many more to come in the following weeks. We'll try and maybe line up a wee guest. I'll see how many players are still awake by next Friday night that might be able to join us if they're not all in ice baths. And until then, take care, stay safe, and come on the Bully Wee.